How's it? It's Jimmy the Geek here from KSSK Radio alongside Tiffany.
Hey.
Tiffany!
Hey.
Oh, my goodness. What a career that you've had
Thank
so
you.
far. And we'll get into that. You're going to be performing at the Blue Note
Yes.
tonight and tomorrow, 2 shows each night. The first thing, we got to go back to the beginnings for you. And the first...
I've been here 30
I
years.
know. The first album in
believe it.
1987 and how things got rolling for you. And then the mall tour. The mall tour was the thing. So talk to me about that mall tour. Whose idea was it? How on board were you with it from the get-go? You know?
Well, I was on board from the beginning because it made sense. I really did hang in a mall. I mean, I was only 14 when I recorded the first album, got the record deal. So that's where I belonged, was really the mall. And the mall tour came to be because really we had been releasing the album. We released a single, I think, We're Alone Now. It was doing really well. Radio was playing it. But the follow-up was, you go out and you perform live. So Tiffany in a club was a little difficult because I wasn't even old enough to be in there.
Right.
I would go in and perform, but, I couldn't hang out with anybody. And that was really a problem. And so that was pretty much going to end the project until the mall tour came along. One of my A&R guys was out there and walking with his daughter in the mall and thought, they have hair shows here, they have fashion shows, they have cooking things, they have everything. Why not have live music? And it made the most sense. And so I did it.
And there's there's the memes that go around on social media nowadays about expectation versus reality. So what was that for you? What was the expectation going into that tour, and what was the reality of what it was?
Well, I didn't have any expectation at all, because I was 14 and I just wanted to sing. So, I just was so grateful. And the reality was closing down a mall and having to go to bigger venues and having a number one album to follow and touring the world. And I haven't stopped for 30 years. So that's the reality. And I'm, forever grateful, really. It doesn't happen always like that,
And New Kids on the Block kind of came out of all of that too, like joining you, right?
Well, New Kids on the Block, I was on tour and I had no one opening for me. My manager and I could not agree. He was wanting a comedian. I thought, what's funny to a 12-year-old is not going to be funny to a 16-year-old. Like, that's awful. And we just really weren't finding any acts to open up for us. And my agent, of course, my manager was away that weekend. He came to, I was performing in New York, and he came to Westbury. And he brought the New Kids. They had just signed with his agency. They were getting some traction on their record as well. And, of course, that's a big area for them, coming from Boston and New York in that area, East Coast. So he said, there's these 5 guys. Can they just show you what they do? And they came backstage, and it was one of my best friends, my girlfriend, Sunita, because I always took one of my girlfriends on the road with me, so I'd have somebody my age to hang out with. And we were like, our jaws just dropped. Hot, 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 hot. And you're talented. So they came in, and they did, I think it was Hanging Tough and Right Stuff and everything like that. And I said, well, I don't have anybody on tonight. You have your tracks. Do you want to go on and try it? And that was my first management, idea or stamp. And I got in a lot of trouble for that later on. But they went out there and they killed it. I heard the girls scream, and I just immediately bubbled inside thinking, this is perfect. And so they went on the road with me for 2 years, but now you've seen what's happened since then.
Right.
So it was great to be on the mixtape tour this past summer, because they got to tell the story a little bit of how it happened, and I got really emotional the last like concert, because they've been doing this tribute to me the whole time. It played before I would sing, and I thought, I'm not gonna cry. And the last show, of course, I just bawled. But it was something to say. You gave somebody, I gave them an opportunity, and they took it and ran with it, and they too are taking it serious. There's been here for over 30 years. I think on that tour I found out as a human, as a person, just how many memories and wonderful connection, and all of those women and guys who've had this in their life, and they really look forward to it. And they're like their own little New Kids family.
Right, yeah, well, it's all a part of our,
and they all want to tell me,
right?
they want to tell me about it. And I thought, that's really cool. I've changed some lives in a weird way, because some of these girls were like, I'm so shy, but I go on the cruise all the time, and they tell me all this stuff, and I'm like, it was really intimate stories. I had a really great time on that tour.
I hope they at least give you like free Wahlburgers for life or something as
Well, I don't think I need free Wahlburgers for life, although really they are fabulous. They really are. For me, was just was like, getting in those costumes every day on the big screen. I was like, well, have carrots. Thank you very much. Love you. And I pushed my own tour back, the Pieces of Me tour, which I'm now doing now.
Right.
So, it kind of all worked out. But I've been on this journey for a while to take new music, to take more rock music, which I've had a passion for since I was a little girl. Yeah. People don't even know that. I started in country music in Norwalk, California, and I was going around the streets singing, whenever I could. I mean, literally, my parents didn't know anything about the music industry. And if it was a backyard barbecue, an opening of a grocery store, whatever, the parade in Norwalk, they put me in there. And I was singing country music at the time, which I loved, but taking a lot of heat from my friends. Yeah. That was like not the cool thing to do. So I found, I had an older cousin, and I'd go into her room, and when she'd be gone for the weekends, and play her records. And Stevie Nicks just really spoke to me, and Hart, and from Hart Wilson from Hart. Ann Wilson from Heart. Thank you very much. Her voice was like, I could do those notes. So I just literally sat in her room all the time, every weekend that I could, and played those records and saturated them. Yeah. And then started asking my mom if I could put some of those, some of that music into my show, in my country show. Yeah. And my mom was a big Stevie Nicks fan as well. And she went, okay. And that was it. The doors were opened. Yeah. And that's kind of what I was doing even before I got the record deal with I Think We're Alone Now. I was doing some stuff at 12, doing more rock stuff and demoing and trying to get a record deal. And they were like, you're 12. So it happened for me at 14, though, when I was, in the studio. A producer came down, and I had started kind of going back to like this organic kind of rock still, but with a country sound, and coming together with all the different musicians that I knew. We didn't really know what else to do. Yeah. And that's when I met George Tobin, who said, I don't know anything about country music. Don't want to take you rock. I want to take you pop.
There you go.
And that's when I Think We're Alone Now came in my life, and it's why we haven't stopped since.
But no, you mentioned Heart. Like that's one of those groups, when I listen to those songs, the 70s stuff, not the 80s Heart, but the 70s stuff, still holds up production value wise.
Sure
like you listen to it, and you're like, wow, that is still so clean. The guitar work, everything. It's just
I think
it's
the
amazing.
way that they recorded the albums were a little different, obviously, back then. Even the songwriting process. Like, I went back old school, and I have to thank my producer, Mark Alberici, for that, because he was like of that like mind space as well. People went off site. They went into we go to Wales, we go to Rockfields, where Bohemian Rhapsody was recorded.
Oh, wow.
Paranoid, Ozzy, Black Sabbath. Yeah. So there's this magic there at that studio. I love it there. But we're saturated. We'll block it out for a week or 2 weeks, whatever we need to do. Nobody's worried about feeding their cats or rowing their lawn or anything like that. We're just doing music. Yeah. And what comes out of that is more of maybe that 70s sound a little bit, because it's just that mindset. So now that people listen to my album, Pieces of Me, they're like, wow, you can really hear the rock coming out of you. I didn't know you could do that, which is great to be accepted, and the shows take it even to the next level. But, for me, I think I wanted to keep it fun. My voice has still got that pop quality.
Right.
So it's always going to be grounded in that pop and that. And of course, you want the album to be fun.
Yeah.
The 80s, there was something about that music. It was fun.
Really fun. Everything was fun.
Yeah, everything was so fun. So
except for The Cure. They were a little dark. But everything else was fun.
That's true. And my crimped hair wasn't fun. I'm sorry. I just want to apologize to everyone who had to see those bad hair days.
But that was the 80s hair, right?
I see those magazines, and I'm like, But that was the jam back then.
Yeah, you've done film and TV as well. A lot of stuff, actually. I mean, you've done sitcoms, you've done reality TV, you've done sci-fi stuff. Of all the things that you've done, silver screen or small screen, what was your favorite?
Oh gosh, Megapython versus Gatoroid, of course, very serious things.
Yes.
I've been very busy
Oscar-worthy.
saving the world, as well as recording behind the scenes. But having a good like cat fight with Debbie Gibson was a lot of fun. We wanted to do most of our stunts, and we did do most of them. But that rivalry never existed.
Right.
But we were sure played it up in the movie. We had
Yeah.
fun, and we actually are girlfriends and friends. So we got a kick out of it.
The rivalry did exist in rumor form, though,
It
back
sure
in those
did.
days, but it wasn't real.
It wasn't true. I mean, I hardly knew Debbie. To be honest with you, we'd see each other passing at a red carpet, or she had just left a hotel and she'd leave me a note, the whatever, popcorn is really great here, or go to the mall here, whatever it is. But we never got a chance to really be in the same room. We were busy working our careers. So with that said, this rivalry thing was crazy. And we've had fun with it throughout the years. But, she is my sister, and I protect her, and I love her. So...
As far as TV shows now, too, there's a lot of the singing shows. There's American Idol. There's The Voice. There's all those things. But you were on the OG singing competition back in the day, Star Search with Ed McMahon. What was that experience like for you?
Well, I lost. It was terrible. But, I think all of that is an experience. I always tell people now who want to get into the industry, do everything. Yeah. If you're invited to sing at church or your local theater or literally the band down the street, do it, because you never know who's going to be there. But it's always an opportunity to know yourself. And I think, I had the voice, but I didn't really know how to perform. So the girl who ran against me, she had the charm. She was looking at people in the eye and performing, and she was where I was more in my head. I didn't close my eyes, but I had this booming voice, but I didn't have the stage presence. Yeah. And that just takes time. You have to keep getting on stage to do it. So, that's kind of what I did. I did small little honky-tonk theaters after that, and then I went on to do some more theater stuff, actually, where we would do showcases where I'd see a lot of songs from Broadway and do more stripped down piano, kind of cabaret kind of stuff. I did all of that in Los Angeles, and I was that was before the record deal. Right. So, everything has been an experience, and now I'm doing the rock stuff. I'm in rock clubs all over the UK where people are like, what is that? A misprint, Tiffany? What? Who? What is happening here?
Are you going to sing I Think We're Alone?
And they come out to give me a hard time, and then they end up becoming a fan.
Vanilla Ice did a rock version of Ice Ice Baby. Are you gonna bust out like a rock version of I Think We're Alone
we
now?
Have
like
one.
A little more.
You should check it out. TiffanyTunes.com. No, it's not going to be. I mean, it is more of a rock version. We already have a 2019 version, and it got over 1 million hits with the new video already in a month when we released it. So we had pretty good success with it. It's kind of got the Foo Fighters guitar on it, kind of like that sound, that building guitars, because I'm a huge Foo Fighters fan. And I think it's got still that retro, like the original record. Mm-hmm. And I made sure, my producer actually made sure that I really sang it kind of spot on as the record, because that's that familiar melody, what everybody's looking for. But I think, this video was so much fun to go back and kind of re-tap into the malls, kind of re-tap into Ventura Boulevard, where we originally recorded the video. I added my high school this time, and I got my friends in it this time, so I had a little more control. But it's the new version, and now everybody's wearing the Children Behave shirts, which I always say we're old enough to not really behave, so don't take it serious, especially if you come to my show.
So, I think We're Alone Now is the one that everybody goes to when they hear Tiffany, but actually I think Could Have Been was a better song.
Well, definitely.
And obviously charted better too across the board. But for me, there's so much angst in that song. I mean, the opening line, "The flowers that you left me are about to die," right?
Sad.
You were probably 14 years old when you recorded that. Like, how hard was it for you to bring out the emotion of that song?
Well, I'm a melancholy. I've always been this way since I was a little girl. And I love ballads. And I fought for that song. So my producer, George, and I fought for that because, it showed that I could sing. And I wanted that. I like to think We're Alone Now, but I was so worried that people wouldn't know I was a singer. And I didn't really want to be a dance artist, even though I love dance music. A lot of my good friends are in dance music. But I just went, but no one will know I can sing. Yeah. And Could Have Been came along, and we were able to record it and fight for it, because I was saying from a 14-year-old's perspective, this makes sense though. I know it's supposed to be more serious than that, but as a kid, when you first fall in love or whatever, when that ends, it's the end of the world. I think it still is, heartbreak and breaking up and all of that. And that song just has a magic to it. And it really does, I've had all these stories over the years about people moving forward with their life, kind of with that song as they're crying it out, and I hear all these great stories, and it's always been my challenge to write a song that I felt was just as good as could have been. I don't know if I've done it yet, but there's been a lot in the making, maybe, and they've gotten close. And I do think that my fans give me a lot of love and encouragement and acceptance and support on the new album, and especially as a songwriter, which that when I start a conversation with a lot of my fans, they start to go, that song, and I expect them to say could have been, or I think we're low now, and when they say that song Pieces Me or The Fall or Waste of Time, which is a new single, I'm like, oh, hold on, you just said the new stuff, and I just smile, and then I hear all their stories. So it's I was saying earlier with you that it's been such a journey to get here, to break ground on the new songs and the new image, and just engaging again and having people find out what kind of live artist I really am. But it's happening. It's great now that people are buying tickets and knowing what they're getting into. I always sing the hits, love the hits, but I'm passionate about the new music, but it's so great after 2 years of pounding the pavement, doing small clubs, doing interviews, talking to the fans, showing behind the stage footage, recording process, getting the fans involved, all of that they're actually out there singing the new music.
The new stuff, and
I'm just like, again, you can see me on stage. I have this happiness that comes over me because it's been a journey for me to be here.
Well, you said you've been singing since you were a little kid, and so that's all you know. Was there anything else you were interested in? So, like, if you hadn't become a singer, what would you be doing?
Oh, I would be doing probably something in the Chinese medicine field. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, acupuncture or something. Something like that.
I've got some needles. You want to practice on me?
Yeah. I'm okay with it. Clearly, I'm okay with needles.
That's interesting.
I just love it. I mean, it keeps me well, and I kind of found Chinese medicine probably about 15, and it's been my go-to for since then. And I'm really into it, and I believe in it, and try to I'm even starting to do more of the diet towards different things, which is a bigger commitment, because being on the road, it's like you just never know what you're going to do. But I think Chinese medicine does keep me in the game, because I'm around a lot of people. You're tired all the time, and I was prone to a lot of colds all the time. For being a singer, I have really terrible lungs because I had pneumonia so much as a kid. But that was back in the day when there's a lot of smoking going on with the family. Nobody rolled down a window, and I always had pneumonia as a child, always, and it would become really a big problem, and I'd have to go to the hospital. So over the years, I've struggled in damp humidity and things like that to really sing and breathe. But doing acupuncture is amazing for me. It keeps me in the game.
That's awesome. One last question for you. Any album, let's say you can only have one album from that time frame, from the 80s and 90s and all that, and not yours. That's too easy. One album for the rest of your life. What album is it? Put her on a spot.
Why did you do that to me? That's awful. This is an awful.
That's a good question, though.
I'm already freaking out. Well, I mean, okay. For happiness in me, I'd pick anything Led Zeppelin. But if I had to be stuck, just listening to me, and I'm alone, let's say, on this island or whatever, for comfort, I would listen to something Stevie Nicks.
Nice.
Definitely. Anything Stevie, because that's my grounding.
Right.
But I mean, for fun, you put on a little Led Zeppelin and there's a party happening.
Put on side one of Led Zeppelin 4. No, wait, that's for making out, according to Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
I mean, if am I alone or am I not alone?
Right.
Because it totally makes a difference.
What's the mood here? Wow, so awesome to meet you and have you down here in Hawaii. When was the last time you were here?
It's been about 10 years.
Oh, wow.
It's been too long.
Yeah.
So that won't happen again.
Won't happen again. Yeah. And you can catch her tonight, 2 shows, 6:30 to 9. Tomorrow night, 2 shows, 6:30 to 9 at the Blue Note. You can go to BlueNoteHawaii.com, check out all the info, and see it. It's such a great venue.
It's an amazing venue. It really isn't a bad seat in the house.
Right.
It sounds great. It's going to be easy to sing in that room.
And you'll be smiling.
And I will be smiling. I can't wait. It's
Awesome.
going to be great, guys.
Tiffany, right here with KSSK. I'm Jimmy the Geek. Aloha.